Hey guys, I'm Scott Carson, one of the founding members of the ACBA, the Aesthetic Cosmetic Business Association. I'm here at the invitation of Kris Groop, the Aesthetic Advisor TV, to be interviewed about some of the changes that affect our industry, some of the tactics that really damage the enterprise value of our practices and our businesses. As a distributor and reseller myself, these same things affect me, and this is the reason why myself and other board members came together to make these changes.
I'm Kris Groop with Aesthetic Advisor TV, and I'm here with Scott Carson of the Aesthetics and Cosmetic Business Association to begin our series, Zapped, Tactics that Laser Manufacturers Use Against You and What You Can Do to Protect Yourself. Scott, can you tell us how laser manufacturers' policies on exchanges and the infrequent amount of recalls hurt laser system owners?
Sure can, Kris. It's also a really good question that we see a lot of in the industry. A couple of years ago, a laser manufacturer, really well-known laser manufacturer, maybe one of the top 5 or 6, had one of their suppliers, this is back in 2006, 2007, shut down. And the sub-assembly manufacturer was made the screen and the board that controlled really the whole unit, was one interface. And when that company shut down, they rushed to go find a new supplier. And all of these software interfaces that existed between the system that was previously designed and this new manufacturer didn't really talk to each other very well. And so there was almost a universal failure of these screens across the board between 2006 and 2007. And instead of going to their client base and saying, hey, this is a mistake, we had a problem, and we'd like to bring these all back and take care of them, which is really what is traditionally done in healthcare manufacturing. In our industry, that's very rare. And in this particular case, it didn't happen. And so what ended up happening is they just blamed it on it's out of warranty. It's no longer being serviced by us. You should buy a new one, upgrade unit, and spend more money. Or you know what, it's broken and we can't fix it. I've heard all of these things. And this all comes from my unique perspective of being inside these large organizations as a distributor on a North American or regional basis and learning about these things and being told these things. And then you're stuck as a distributor having to manage this with your client base and your customer base. In many cases, this really impacts the secondary market. And there's really no way for them to respond to or to manage through it. Let me make this point if I can real quickly. Is all of this happened, as I mentioned, 2006, 2007, but the downstream effects were 3 and 4 years later when these screens, in many cases that weren't being used, just started to fail. And at that point, they'd been sold or resold through secondary companies, secondary retail companies, resellers. And then the problems fell back on them as selling bad devices, when in fact it was not that at all. It was the manufacturer that should have done a recall and didn't.
Now, if something happens with a patient, so let's say I do a treatment on a patient and one of these machines had a failure that I didn't know about, who actually is liable for it? Is it myself or is it going to be the manufacturer?
Well, that's a tricky question, and that's a legal question. And I'm not a lawyer, but I have seen how the industry responds to this. And almost in every case, the clinician gets sued and the manufacturer. They're both sued. And often, and in many cases, the manufacturer's insurance company will often protect you for those types of things. But you're right in the middle of that, and you're spending money, and you're having to defend yourself. And in the end, you really don't know. Was it a treatment issue? Was it a mechanical issue or a technological issue that's embedded in the system that wasn't properly designed or wasn't properly manufactured? And it's very easy for a manufacturer to push that away. And it's very hard for you as a clinician to fight the manufacturer back, because what they have teams of lawyers on retainer, large law firms that specialize in protecting their assets. They're publicly traded companies, so they have big budgets for these kinds of things and reserves for these. You as a clinician don't. And again, this is why we formed the ACBA, was to bring a collective voice together to give you guys like you, clinicians like you, a chance to fight back.
Since 2007, I've worked in this industry also as an expert witness in laser lawsuits. And out of all of the cases I've ever seen, it's never come back to a manufacturer error. It's always come back to the error of the technician, which it may have been, and several times it has been. But it kind of puts in my mind, I wonder, how many of those were actually a fault of a machine as opposed to a fault of the technician. And it's never kind of, at least in my experience, it's never gone against the manufacturers.
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak to that. Again, I'm not a legal expert when it comes to these things, so I really don't know. But what I can say is, again, your ability to go do the research and get the data and find out really what are the failure rates, what are the out-of-the-box failure rates on new devices, and what is the maintenance history. It's very difficult for you to be able to get that as an individual, but as a group, as a collective group of thousands or tens of thousands of members, we'll have a body that will allow us to go and ask for that kind of information to let us know if there were some gremlins or some problems in these systems that really led to patient damage or patient injury that they should be accountable and responsible to. Again, we're big advocates of this industry. We're proponents of the industry. We love everything that's going on as it relates to the advancement of technology. The thing we want to see is that there's a place for you to go and ask questions and get answers.
Well, I'd like to thank Scott for joining us today. And we have been spending time discussing one tactic that laser manufacturers can use against you and what we can do to help protect ourselves. I'd like to thank Scott for spending his time with us. And also, if you would like more information, you can visit the ACBA website at www.acba.expert. Thanks for watching.